Drago,
What's up? What's up?
number 25.
25. Let's go, baby.
We're starting to bring back our favorite guests.
Oh, the best guest we've had all time. Let's go, Brock.
Best
Fentanyl
guest. Number
Project.
one, number one watched episode. I just listened to our first one this weekend.
Nice.
Let's go, dude.
Let's
We
go.
we
Yeah,
got our boy Brap.
most downloaded. It wasn't a lot of downloads, but we're getting downloads. Let's go. People are listening. People are watching for sure. 100%.
Our most downloaded, right?
Yep.
Most 2 million downloads. And I was like,
It was crazy.
that's more
Let's
than the
go.
others, right? But we're making progress. We're saving lives. We're inspiring. I hear it almost on a daily basis now. And part of that was Brock's initial episode. So Brock is the creator, correct?
Yeah.
The CEO, correct? The
Yes.
boots
The
on the
HNIC.
ground.
The HNIC. Let's go.
That's
Yep.
it.
He is the man of the Fentanyl Project, and we're super honored to have him on today. And we were just talking before we got on. This epidemic of fentanyl is not getting any better, and we called this episode "Why No One Is Safe from This Epidemic," why it's the most dangerous thing in our country right now, and there's no one better to talk about this and the dangers of it than Brock. So I think where I'd like to start, Brock, is I'm a parent. We're all parents, right? You got 7 kids. Drago's got 4. I got 3, right? So you got to put me and Drago together to match your outcome, right? Maybe that's why that thing was infected. Too many kids, right?
Yeah. Man, that's right.
So we're going to have some fun today, but I want to start right there. Like, I think all of us think that won't happen to me. My kids won't do that. You made the statement, hey, I got on fentanyl and I want you to reintroduce the people listening to your journey. I got on fentanyl through a prescription from a professional, a doctor, and they thought it was safe to prescribe me because I was a police officer, right?
Yeah.
And it did what to you?
Well, I mean, it gave me a license. It gave me the freedom to use.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what it was. Like I said, so I was run over, sustained a knee and an ankle injury on an incident as a police officer. And when I went to the hospital, of course, they do what they do at the hospital. And then they sent me to my primary care. My primary care doctor was a friend of mine. He's a good guy, right? Had my best interest, of course. And when I walked in there, he's like, hey, Brock, I'm going to give you these pills. You're never going to get hooked on them because you're a cop. And at that time in my brain, I'm like, what? I'm a cop, so that I'm immune to this. And so it was it. That was it, dude. And the first time I took it, I remember it was like this warm blanket, and it was the most comforting. I didn't care about anything else in the world. That's what it came down to.
Yeah. It was like a long lost best friend that you haven't seen in many, many years, and you're just so happy to reconnect with them.
So you had an incident. You want to talk through the incident a little bit and what kind of led you to your injury and what took you down this staircase?
Yeah. So the first time I ever used, I was in a foot pursuit. This is actually a kind of funniest story, so I should tell it. I'm in a foot pursuit. A guy does a beer run, and he's holding 2 24-packs walking down the street. And I go to do a traffic stop on him. He's an African-American guy. I'm thinking, hey, I got this. I'm going to get out of my car. And I'm like, hey, dude, you're under arrest. He's like, nope, no, I'm not. Drops the alcohol and takes off running. And dumb me, I'm like, foot pursuit, 1 charge at 50. What? I'm in pursuit. I left the alcohol there. That was the only reason I was there, right? To get the alcohol back. But I'm in a foot pursuit, and he's winning. But I see him hit this fence and jump over. I'm like, oh yeah, I got him. So it was a wooden fence, and I go, and I still remember, dude, I put 1 foot on that fence and I jumped, and when I landed, my foot went into a hole. I took that next step and my knee just blew it, right? And I'm laying on the ground, and I hear my partner, my man Lance Hevlin, has since passed from cancer, but one of my best guys, and he was running behind me, and he goes, I got you, Bev. He goes to put his foot on the fence and the fence collapses. So the fence collapses on top of me. He falls back, breaks his back. I'm on one side with a blown out knee. He's on the other side with a broken back, and the dude's gone. So that was my
And the alcohol is still sitting there.
And the alcohol, it's probably still there, dude. So that was my first. And when I used then, my mind was right. And I think that's really important to talk about is I had objectives. I had my mind right to get back as quick as I could. The second time I was involved in an incident a few years later, and I used opiates that first time, but they didn't have the effect that they had the second time. Second time I was on a traffic stop with a woman who was prostituting or trafficking her daughter. Long story short, she goes to reverse out because she doesn't want to go to jail, and catches my right foot under the back tire. I go to twist it blows my ankle out. I go to step down. She hits the inside of my knee. You guys remember those Stretch Armstrong toys? Just
yeah.
That's what my knee looked like. It just stretched.
Oh,
Bam. And it was crazy. Adrenaline's a cool thing, man. I pop back up. We arrest her, and then I just drop. But that was the time I went to the hospital. They're talking about retired me. They're talking about I go at length without my team and my people. And I noticed that the more opioids I took, the better comfort my mind had. Right? I was at ease. I'm like, at first I was pissed off. Why aren't these guys calling me? Why aren't they coming to visit me? I mean, come on, man. I was bleeding with these guys. I was in shootings with these guys. Why aren't they coming? And then I just noticed, man, like it helped with my depression. It helped with my sorrow. And that was the difference. The first time I didn't have that because I was getting back. This time they're like, hey, Bev, this injury is way too severe. We're probably going to end up medically retiring you. And then they medically retire me. And then it just spirals downhill, and the more opioids I took, the less I thought about it.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot. I believe men were put here to provide and protect, and women were put here to love and nurture, right? And there's different dynamics in different families, right? Every family's different, and different people take on different roles. But I believe overall that's how evolution started, right? That's how creation started, right? So when you take one of those things from a man, it affects him, right?
Dude, I lost my swagger, bro.
Yeah. So you're saying you went to this to ease the pain and to provide you comfort, right?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Only reason.
Yeah. So
because here's the deal, man. I was out of physical pain. And that's what people don't understand. Like the physical pain was gone. I had surgeries. My knee was healing. My brain was on fire. Makes sense. I was not healthy. I was not right. I was angry. I didn't know what to do next. I was lost. I'm like, hey man, I'm a cop, like that was my I am. And I had wrapped all my identity around that portion of me. And that I had to redevelop. I had to refigure out that guy. Wow.
So you get addicted to opioids, and fentanyl, and you go down this downward spiral, right? So talk about how long?
10 years, bro.
Oh, 10 years.
Yeah, it wasn't just like a weekend. It was 10 freaking years, dude.
10 years. So you go through this 10-year downward spiral. Talk a little bit about your lowest points, and then talk about the journey of recovery and how the fentanyl project came about.
Yeah, I want to dispel a rumor and like a thought process, or maybe even a stigma about addiction recovery. Everybody's like, hey, there's a rock bottom. You're going to hit a rock bottom. And really, for us who have been in addiction, I don't know if there's really a rock bottom, because we can just keep digging.
Yeah.
I mean, I can look back at mine, and I had a few rock bottoms, man. I had a few moments where it's like, and the whole time I was like, I need to change this, but I don't know how. I don't have the skill set. And I was.
What were some of those defining moments?
I had lost not custody of my kids, but I went through a divorce. My wife had custody, and she was living in northern Arizona. I was down here in the valley in Mesa. So about a 4-hour trip if I was going to see my kids at any time. Now I was able to, I had weekends with them, but I had to go up there, stay in a hotel, bring them to the hotel. I mean, it was just a mess, right? I mean, I went from being a good dad, everyday dad, to now I get see my kids on the weekends. And I was driving up through the Salt River Canyon. It's a windy mountain. I had my service weapon in my center console. And I remember that I was like, my kids don't need this. They don't need this crap. They don't need to see a dad like this. I'm pathetic, dude. And really, I felt like a piece of shit. That's what it felt like. And as I'm driving, I have, we fight these two voices. I don't know if you guys ever heard the bitch voice and the king voice. We have the bitch voice and the king voice, and they're always in battle with each other. And you have to learn the bitch voice is the comforting voice, is the one that wants you comfortable. It's the one that wants you to take the easy route. And the king voice is the one that makes you get up and go to the gym. It's the one that makes you be a good father and all these. And I'm driving, I'm like, man, my kids don't need this. And I have this, just take your life.
Finally, the king voice spoke up.
No, the king voice at this time, no, because it's like, you need to take your life. The bitch voice was heavy.
It went to that.
He's just like, yeah, he's like, you know what? And then the king voice kind of said, hey, my concern was I didn't want another cop finding me. I didn't want to just pull off the road and have a police officer roll up to that scene with my brains. I mean, that's what a suicide is, man. It's gnarly, right? If you've ever seen one, it's long lasting. I'm like, I'm going to add more trauma to a cop that's going to find this. He's up in northern Arizona. He's probably never taken a death in his life. You know how your mind works, And I'm like, I found a spot and I pulled over, man. And I was alone in my vehicle. I've been alone for 3 hours. And I picked the weapon up and I put the weapon in my hand. It's already chambered. It's my Glock 40, 40. And I go to put it to my head, and all of a sudden I hear this voice, just like we're talking, an audible voice say, hey, Dad, you're not a chump. You're not going out this way. And it was my son, Taven. And he was probably, I don't know, 8 at the time when I heard this voice. And I like, it shook me, man, because I'm like, he's not in the car. So I put the gun down and I honestly turned around and looked because I thought he was there. I'm like, did he get my car? You know what I mean? Like, is he back there? And then that voice, man, it stuck to me, man. Like, you're not a chump, dude. That's the king voice, right? You have to listen. And so I put the service weapon away and I drove the rest of the way. And I didn't talk about that for years. It wasn't until my son was on a mission for our church and I got to go see him, and I sat down with him, and I think it might even have been a little bit earlier, but I told him, I said, hey, Taven, you have no idea that you saved my life. And wow. So, I mean, that was one of those defining moments, and that was my rock bottom, but that wasn't it. I didn't stop. That was a cool moment. It was like, but it wasn't that thing that said, okay, turn around.
What made you stop?
Yeah. What did that was, I was in my house, and as an addict, you always are preparing, right? That just in case guy. You guys know about just in case. I got to have a pill by my bed just in case. I got to have some water by my bed just in case. And I got up and went to the bathroom, and my pill wasn't there. I'm like, what the heck, dude? So I went to my medicine cabinet, opened it up, and there was my meds all perfectly placed, all written on. So I took a pill, shut that cabinet, and it gave me a glimpse into my life. It gave me a glimpse into my room. And all I can remember is like thinking, Brock, you're a crackhead. You've done so many search warrants on this kind of house. You're turning into that. It pissed me off, dude. So I slammed the cabinet, and then ripped it back open and took every single pill, opened them up, and dumped every one of them. Now, for the people listening, that was a really bad idea. That is not how we recover. You know what I mean? Today, I don't recommend that, but that's what I needed, right? Because at that point in time, I said, okay, this is it. This is that moment you're going to take the stand. You're either going to bitch, you're either going to be the king voice or listen to the bitch voice, but you have to like figure this out. But I had no more pills and dumped them all. And I tell people, if I'd had a scuba suit, man, I was diving. I would have went in those, I would have found out, get a pill, because, when you're into it and you're going through the withdrawals, up to about the 3rd day, I handled it really well till day 3. And then day 3, I felt like my skin was crawling off. I felt like I had this restless leg, wouldn't stop. It was bouncing. It was immense pain. I was on all fours in my bathtub.
Your bones hurt, right? Like it felt like you could feel your bones.
There was a moment that I was throwing up so bad. And I'm like, Brock, if you throw up again, you're going to throw up your backbone. Like, you're just that, you have nothing else. So and it was funny, horrible. I mean, we can go in that all day, but it was a moment where I heard God talk to me, really. And I said, like, okay, God, just we make these deathbed confessions. I'm like, okay, God, get me out of here. I'm at day 3. I'm over this. Just let me walk. I can do it. 3 worst words. I got this, right? 3 worst freaking things that any dude in recovery can tell you. And that's what I told God. And I heard him laugh at me like, dude, son, if I let you out of this bathtub in this bathroom, you're going to go find 1 pill and you're going to be right back in this. And so he laughed at me. I heard him laugh at me, a conversation. No lies. Like my son in the back seat. So I'm like, all right, man, I'm in this. So the 7th day, I'm in the bathtub, in the bathroom. I had some water in the meantime. And all I can remember is I was like, that was my moment of like, okay, if I go any more time, if I do this anymore, I'm going to die. Like literally didn't have any more fight, didn't have any more energy, no more courage, nothing. And I was like, okay, God, I get it. I was like, if you just let me out of this spot, I'll never, ever use again. And you guys are Hogan fans, right? Hulk Hogan back in the day when the referee raised his arm and it drops.
Yep.
And then he raises his arm and it drops. And the 3rd time he's just like shaking it, right? You guys know what that's what it felt like. This energy just hit me, dude. And I stood up and I'm like, let's go. Right. And so when I walked out of that bathroom that day, I made a firm commitment that I'm never using an opiate again. Now, you have to understand when I say that, man, I've had neck surgery, I had bars put in my neck. I had hand surgery, I had shoulder surgery this year. I went through that major pain, infection, no opiates at all. Now, that's not the way to do it for most people, but it's what works for me in my recovery.
Right.
And so those,
Because
I think
I feel
those
like
are
because
my,
you made
Go
a
ahead.
commitment to yourself. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And you're a strong-willed person, and you are not going to go back on that commitment. Because I did the same thing, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, everybody, we always like when we pray to God when something's bad, right? Like,
Oof.
and I'm not the biggest God guy, but I do believe in like a higher power in the universe.
Yeah.
And I remember making an agreement with the universe, right? When I decided that I was going to get sober, I said, keep me sober and safe, and I will never use again. And same thing, teeth, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
That's a bit. I will tell you that
you
most
didn't work a
people, that's where
program?
they bunk. No. Here's the deal. I'm 52, right? I've been sober for 14 years.
Mhm.
AA was there, but it wasn't anything I ever knew about. I wasn't raised in a family of addiction. I didn't ever hear about addiction. I didn't understand addiction.
Right.
So I just flipped the script, and everything I was doing in active addiction, I changed everything, people,
Rad.
places, things, all the way down to my comforter. You know what I mean? Like everything had to change and go.
So you make this strong commitment to yourself. That was 14 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about how the fentanyl project started from that, and then the differences, because I didn't even know about fentanyl until like 5 years ago. So I can't imagine it wasn't on the streets, or maybe it was, and I just didn't know about it, right? But 14 years, 14 years is how long I've been clean too, right?
Nice.
So like when I was running out doing coke runs, I wasn't hearing about fentanyl or seeing it on the streets, right? I was in the streets getting that stuff, right? So talk a little bit about, okay, this you went through your recovery, you made your commitment. How did the fentanyl project start? And then what's the difference between now, right? And I want everyone to follow the fentanyl project on Instagram. You have maybe the best social media I've ever followed in my life,
Yeah,
bro.
for sure.
Man, that's cool. Thank you.
Your education, your commitment to your community, how you show up for these people going through it. It's unbelievable. You have a forever fan and friend in me. But talk a little bit about this journey and how you went from that commitment to where we are today.
It was by accident. Really, I was working for a playground company that's building these multi-million-dollar playgrounds. No lies. And I just helped out. And I'm driving down the street one day, and there's this young African-American kid sitting in the parking lot of a church with his bags. And I'm driving past him, and higher power, God, whatever you want to call it, speaks to me, slaps me in the head, says, "Hey, turn around and talk to him." I'm like, "Nope, not talking to him." I'm driving down, hits me in the back of the head again, and he says, "Hey, Bev, you need to go back and talk to that kid." And I'm like, "I'm not doing it, man. I'm busy. I have my life." And so the 3rd time, I'm like, "All right, man, I'll listen this time." So I flip around and I park. His name was Derek Montgomery. And I jumped down. I was like, "Dude, what's going on, man?" And I sat with him just on the curb. just like 10 minutes. And I sat with him. I said, what you got going on, man? He's like, I'm struggling with addiction. I'm homeless. My family's struggling. I'm like, oh, damn, dude, I'm the guy to talk to. I understand this. I understand where you're at. I understand what you're going through. So we have a brief conversation, and I gave him some love, told him I loved him, and just, you know what I'm saying? Just love on people. And
Yeah.
I left, and it wasn't anything more than 10 minutes. And I left, and I went home and told my wife, I was like, Mare, I had this really great conversation with this kid. She goes, post about it on Facebook. I'm like, no, I'm not posting about that. That's weird. She's like, no, you need to post about it. People need to hear about it. So I vacillated for a minute. I'm like, do I really post this stuff, dude? So I posted about it, put a picture of him and me and him together. And within hours, his dad reaches out, says, hey, that's my son. We've been missing him. He's struggling with addiction. Can't find him. Can you lead us to him? So we lead him to him. They connect. And that's how it started.
Wow.
And so I started loading. I'm like, dude, that was great. I'm gonna load my back of my truck with water and whatever I can get. I start loading it up, and I'm driving around because I'm going to these parks every day, and I'm seeing these guys, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start taking some time. And then I start seeing these trends like you're talking about, where fentanyl starts getting big, and people are talking about these because I didn't get into fentanyl either. I'm an OG, right? I was the scripts and stuff like that, and so I'm like, man, this people need to know about this. These parents need to know about this. So that's when I started using the camera and started videoing this. I never, ever thought about, hey, I'm going to just make money. I want to do that. No thoughts of it. I want to educate. And so I started putting these down and sharing with people. And the fentanyl project stemmed from that. I had a guy that reached out and said, hey, bro, you're doing this out of the back of your truck. Can I buy you a van? Yeah. Buys me a van. Hey, can we wrap your van? A guy wraps the van. I have now some people that give me a pair of socks. I have a company called Tag that gives me socks. I have Your Water from California that sends me water bottles. I have Skivvy underwear. You know what I mean? Like these people are like reaching out and say, Bev, here's some product. We want you to give it out. F3 Energy Drinks is a local buddy of mine that he gives me all the energy. I mean, who goes around and gives out energy drinks? You know what I mean? And I give to these folks, and it's a way for me to have a conversation.
Yeah.
It's a way for me to love on them and say, hey, man, you're worth it. You're worthy. You're loved. There's people out there that can do it. And really, that was how the Fentanyl Project started. Simple.
Yeah, I love how you connect with them, and then you're always in the background talking to them, but you're always giving them like positive reassurance that like, hey, you're better than this. You're worthy. You deserve better. Like all of your videos are like that.
Man, I try. I will tell you, you know what's interesting? You guys probably see the same thing, but you have people either love what you do or they have disdain
Go hard on
for
you.
what
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I have people sometimes saying, I can't believe you would do this. And I'm like, gosh, man, I just come get in the van with me, come see. And every time I don't fight with them, I'm like, hey, my seat is always open. If you ever want to jump in the van and see what's really happening out there, really how we treat people, and what we do, come get in the van. Other than that, it's kind of hard to talk about me sitting behind your computer.
Yeah.
Well, there's certainly two types of people in the world, right? There's those that embrace the truth and want to know the truth and go seek out the truth, right? And there's those that hate the truth because sometimes the truth is scary. But here's what I know. It might not be a day, it might not be a year, it might be 40 years, but guess what always comes out?
The truth.
If you don't mind, let's hit that topic real quick about what we're seeing with the fentanyl. Because you asked, I mean, that's a valid question. I mean, we didn't see it when we were running and gunning our dope. This stuff is absolutely a weapon of mass destruction. Never seen anything like it. And the reason I say that is not because it's a coined phrase, but within the last month, I'm seeing a flip. So when we talk about blues or fentanyl, they're M30 pills. Okay. They're pills that look like a pharmaceutical pill that you would get from your doctor. They're made to look like it. They're made to mimic it. And so
You call those blues, right? Those are
they're
what
called blues because they're blue.
Okay.
Right. And so there's a trace amount of fentanyl in it. And we call it the chocolate chip cookie effect. It's so important to understand this. The people pressing these pills are not pharmacists. They don't they don't make millions of these that are like perfectly made. So what they do is they put it in a press, it drops down, they pull the press, boom, 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 when they're pulling it. And like in one dump, you might have 1 milligram. In one dump, you might have 10 milligrams. You don't know. So when we start talking about hot shots, that's what you're getting. Well, what happened is it's weird. Over the last month, those pills have become bunk. They don't get you high. They have a horrible taste to them. They're more full of xylazine, which is what the trank dope is. That it's an animal tranquilizer used by veterinarians, used to put big animals down. So when you see like the guys totally bent over at the hip and they can't lift their head and they're just like, you see it online all the time, right? They're just knotted out. That is more the trank dope than the fentanyl. Okay, that's what people understand. So what happened is when I talk about this evolution, they're making these pills less and less potent and pushing people to the Fetty powder.
Yeah.
Which the Fetty powder is crazy because if you put Fetty powder and cocaine next to each other in a baggie, you couldn't tell me which one was cocaine or which one was Fetty powder. You would have no idea. And that's honest. It looks exactly like it unless you test it, right? And we have people going from 100 pills a day to Fetty powder and overdosing the first time they try it. If that tells you the potency.
Taking 100 blues a day.
And it's just keeping them well. They call, hey, it's just keeping me well. I'm keeping it
Maintenance
out
dose.
of, yeah. I'm dosing myself with it, but I'm not overdosing. So check this out. I told you at the beginning, I'm driving down in East Mesa and I see this dude go out. As I'm pulling up to him, he's dropping. Okay. He's overdosing and his buddy's calling 911. Fire department. As I flip around, fire department and an ambulance are already there on scene. And they hit this guy with 9 Narcans. Wow. 9. And all of a sudden I see his foot go, doom, and he stands up and he's like nothing happened. Like he's been out for 20 minutes, bro. They're working him. And it's funny because the guy walks around back to the 76 gas station. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go talk to him. So I go over there. This will be put out there in a couple of days, but I go over there and talk to him. Like, dude, what the hell? I just saw you dead. He's like, bro, check this out. I used 1 grain of Fetty powder. And he says, yesterday I overdosed. So he overdosed yesterday. And so 2 days ago, and then yesterday he's on the ground again. And he's like, I was so scared to overdose that I used 1 grain and hit it. I don't remember anything. I was out. What? This dude is a daily user of 75 to 100 pills a day and went out in a grain.
That's insane. And in your videos too, I've noticed when you're talking to people, you're asking if they're, about the blues being bunk, and everybody is using Fetty powder. Everybody
is. And the Fetty powder is so potent, and what they're doing is they're sexing it up, dude. Like now they're coming out when there's pink in it and there's lavender in it. And it's like all these different colors. And I'm like, they did the same thing with the blues. You remember that? Yeah. They changed the blues to all these orange and all these other colors. And it's like, dude, you guys, it's just a cycle. And so that's the crazy thing about addiction and dope now. I don't know, man.
Where is it coming from? Why is it worse? What patterns have you seen? Share a little bit about since you've created the fentanyl project to where we are now. Like, why is this such an epidemic? You're obviously on a border town and you see what happens that the whole country's talking about. But I want you to share a little bit that this just isn't an Arizona, Texas, California problem. This is a whole country problem. Talk a little bit about the patterns and the increase and why this is a whole country issue and just become, I think, the most dangerous thing in our country besides probably getting hit by a nuke. Honestly, in my opinion, this is the most dangerous thing in our country. And why it's such an epidemic and how did we get here so quickly?
Overdose, 108,000 people died of overdose last year. That's small. That's a city, right? 327 people die of overdose from fentanyl a day. That's a jumbo jet. So imagine the government, if a jumbo jet fell in the sky every day, someone's talking. We're recreating that accident. We're figuring it out. This is not happening. It is. I want to say, I'm not a political, I don't consider myself super political as that. But we know where it's coming from. The DEA says that it's coming in from China. and understand this, the difference between fentanyl and heroin. And I think to understand addiction and understand where we're going is fentanyl is a synthetic opioid. So it's two like medications put together. That's the best. Two oils, two substances put together to create a fentanyl. Whereas opioids, you have to plant an opioid plant. You have to water it, develop it, neutralize it, take it out, create. So there's a process. This is an immediate opioid. So the chemicals go from China, they get shipped to Mexico. And this is not according to Brock. This is according to the DEA. Our government knows this. It's getting into Mexico. The cartels are divvying up amongst themselves. They're not working together for sure, but they're getting into the U.S. We're the demand, right? We want this stuff. If we didn't want it, it wouldn't be here. So to say it's just Mexico's fault, it's not, dude. It's our fault. But the problem is it's coming through the border. And now we're starting to get presses here. Go ahead.
We are allowing it.
We're allowing it. Yeah.
On the border.
Yeah. And everybody asks me, well, how do you stop it? Well, here's the thing. Like we need to close the border. That's the real thing. And I'm not saying close it forever, but here's the deal. We have a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. We are gushing blood. Close the border, seal it up for a minute. Let's breathe. Let's figure out really what's happening in our community. Because if you watch the news every single day, 50,000, 100,000, 1 million pills are being stopped in vehicles every day. Chad, I challenge you to Google right now, fentanyl traffic stops. And it will pop up right now as someone just got stopped with 1 million pills. It's crazy the amount of pills coming in, and they're coming in from Mexico.
That's what we're catching.
Thank you. That's what we're catching, or that's what we're stopping at the border. So to answer that question, that's the problem that we have is it's coming in through that. But we have zero service. Our services in America are pretty poor. Like our rehabs are, and I'm not saying all of them, but really it's just a turn and burn situation where you get a guy coming in with a rehab. He's going to go to detox, and then 5 days later, he's going to go into a 30-day treatment. And then guess what? You're putting him right back in the freaking situation that got him in it.
Yeah.
And most of it is back on the streets. And so aftercare is such a thing that we're missing in America. We don't have an aftercare. So that's my soapbox, but that's really where it's coming from. And it's destroying our kids.
So I have a question. Let's say we did close the border, and you have all these people in active addiction that is using so much fentanyl that they couldn't go to a hospital, or the hospital wouldn't be able to provide them enough care, correct?
Yeah.
To cover, like, what would, I guess there probably would never even be a solution until we figure it out, but like, what would that look like? That would be insane for a minute, right?
It would be insane for a minute, especially if they don't have insurance. Methadone is being used right now. Suboxone's being used right now. Sublocade's being used. So that we have some medications out there if you want to take them. There are medications that help with the pain to get off it, right? Yeah. They call it comfort meds to help you get through the 7 days. And really, dude, I can't wait till you guys hear this next interview. The guy's like, he stopped 8 days ago. And I was like, well, tell me the secret. He goes, you just have to want it. And really, that's what it comes down to is you have to nut up and say, okay, guess what? Because we did.
Yeah.
Right. We had to finally make that decision. And that's what I tell people. There's going to come a time where you're going to nut up and say, hey, I'm done. And so forcing people into it, I don't know if it's going to work. They may turn to something else because that's what we saw. People went from methamphetamines to fentanyl because it was a 25 cents a pill. So they just go to the step down. So what's next?
What's the cost?
Ooh, so we've seen it down to 25 cents a pill.
A pill.
A pill.
Anybody can get access to this.
Dude.
Right?
Yeah.
My kids get $2.50 for cleaning the living room when I make the mess, right? When they make
and then at 100 pills a day, that's $25 a day for 100 pills.
Thank you.
Yeah. And there's people taking it. So they've made it very affordable.
Yeah.
Why do you think they've made it so affordable?
Because they're making so much money off it. Because there's so many pills. That right there should scare the shit out of you to tell you how much is really here.
So there's no cost barrier, correct?
None.
Where are the kids getting it?
So that's what's scary, man. That's what people don't understand is I'm working with a division in Ohio. They did a traffic stop on a car. When they seized the elements in the car, they found these white pills that had Tylenol stamped on them, had the red T on the backside. It said Tylenol etched in it. It looks just like a Tylenol pill. When they tested it, it was fentanyl.
Fuck.
So they're they're starting to stamp stuff. I mean, not starting, but they're stamping their pills with to mimic a Tylenol. So your daughter has a stomach ache. She has on her period. She's at school. She doesn't want to call mom. Hey, she asks her friend, hey, do you got a pill? You got anything for me? And they give her a pill and that's it. Here's the most alarming stat. 66% of the kids that are dying in America are dying at their own home. 66%. Now think of the trauma of that. That's some wicked trauma. Your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, they're finding you dead.
So you're seeing this firsthand in Mesa, border town, over and over and over.
Dude, every day.
How is it being distributed to the rest of the country?
So Arizona's the border town. It's coming into Arizona and then it hits. We have freeways that go everywhere. And so as soon as it hits here, it's just divided up and gone. It's flowing into everywhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes in through Texas, it comes through California, it comes in through Canada. You know, I mean, it's everywhere.
So we literally could see our kids not even intending to take it. Your kids don't even have to know that they're taking it or want to take it, and they take it because they think it's something else.
Yep. And it's laced in everything. It's in cocaine. It's in methamphetamines. It's in Molly. It's in sprinkled on the weed now. We're finding it in the vape pens. I mean, it's scary, man. It's scary. They're doing everything they can to affect our kids.
Yes, because it's coming from China, right?
Coming in.
We're asking for it, right?
Yeah. And
We're
it's attacking our strength, right? Our kids, man.
So I believe last time you said you believe right now it's 1 in 3 people know someone that's died from fentanyl overdose.
Easy, dude. Easy. Yeah, just read the news. Like, I cannot tell you how many people hit me up and say, I lost my son last night. I lost my husband.
Yeah,
he thought it was a pill
on our show, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's all the time, bro.
And it destroys the whole family. And it's like when I used, it was to party, and then it turned into like I needed it to keep up the party, but keep up the work and the grind, right? But it was never used in an amount. You know, the whole culmination of constantly using is what brought me down. It wasn't that I was using enough to overdose, right? I was never using enough cocaine to kill myself, right? But this is different. This is literally by accident. Brock said 1 grain. You know how small a grain is? A small grain. Think of a sugar grain. That's how small that something can be that can kill you, right? So it is the biggest epidemic, I think, in our country. It is our biggest danger.
Nobody's talking about it.
Nobody's talking about the DEA
here
is
in
outnumbered. The border patrol's outnumbered. Police are outnumbered by this. It's a mass epidemic. So one thing we do is close the borders. What else do you see being done in the community? Sorry, I kind of cut you off, Drago. Ask your question.
Those are such good questions. But another thing, Chad, when we were kids, when we were in active addiction using, our dudes weren't dying.
Yeah.
You weren't hearing our brothers and sisters dying from an overdose. And if we did, it was usually some OG that died, right?
Yeah.
It's just not. But today we're hearing all these kids dying. So the thing is, as a parent, we got to take some control. I mean, I can't control what the government does. I can't control whether they close the border, but I can get in my van every day and educate. I mean, that's really all I can do. Is educate and help parents understand this shit is so real. It's not the dope you were taking when you were a kid. It's everywhere. It's easily accessible. It's in every high school, every church, every ball field. Everybody has it. And that's the difference is, I mean, dude, I don't know if you guys saw the 8th grader that had bags and bags of it at school. It's nuts of how accessible it is. And so as a parent, you have to get off your damn phone, talk to your kids, have a conversation, and let them, don't scare them. I mean, that's not the thing, but it's a tactic to talk to your kids and say, hey man, this stuff is real. If you have a stomach ache, come home, call me. I'll bring you something, right? Never take anything from somebody else that's given to you. If you're struggling with mental health, let's go do it the right way, And so that would be the best advice is I think our parents need to wake up and do a better job. And some people are going to hear that and be like, F you, Brock, I'm a great parent. But I will tell you that it may not be you, but it'll be someone that you love will be affected by this. Like that's how
sure.
much it's affecting people. So,
but then on the flip side too, I feel like just most parents don't even know that this is even around because we're not shouting from the rooftops about what's going on. Like there's people like us that try to get the word out, but like this, like literally like the stuff with Narcan, I feel like non-addict, you should know what the signs are of an overdose, and you should have Narcan in the car. My kids should have Narcan. What happens? I've got teenagers. They go out. Their friend experiments with some street weed. The guy ODs in my car. Well, guess what? Like my kids understand how to use Narcan, and they understand the signs of an overdose, and it's in the glove box.
Yeah, no, it's so good, dude. And if every parent was doing that, we'd save a lot of lives.
Yeah.
But you're right. A lot of parents are like, not my kid, man, not my kid.
Not my kid.
I interviewed a senator here, and her daughter passed away. She's like, my daughter was a straight A student. I never thought my daughter was, you know what I mean? Like you hear this time and time. It's like, Senator, you're not immune to it, right? You're still going to be affected. Our kids are kids, man. They have people that they have people that have more control over them than we do as parents.
Yeah. Way more influence with the social media, right? Way more trying to fit in. The comparison game is thick, and it just takes 1 week moment from a 15, 16, 18-year-old kid for them to be gone. And
well, bro, it's not even a weak moment. It's just making the wrong decision.
Wrong decision.
Yeah. And we've all
do you realize that Snapchat, your kid can go on to Snapchat, order fentanyl, order drugs, have it delivered to your house. You will pay for it through Grubhub. It will be delivered. It's a contactless drug deal. It will be delivered to their house. They'll pick it up and use. Do you know that's how most kids are getting dope today?
That's insane.
Yeah, that's insane, dude. I mean, I can send you emojis. I can send you emoji where this is what they used and the kid died from it. And it was absolutely contact. So when I worked undercover, right, it was scary. Buying dope was scary. Like having to set a deal up and meet the guy and trade money. Was I going to get jumped? And you know what I mean? Like that whole just like, I got to go do this. And that was the craziness. But here's what's crazy. Today, you don't even have to touch the person and you can get dope delivered to your house and you'll pay for it. Like this lady in East Mesa, she's a ER nurse. Her daughter ordered fentanyl on Snapchat, had it delivered. She paid for it. The mom paid for that fentanyl that night through Grubhub.
What the fuck?
And her daughter died. She's like, I had no freaking clue. They went through the phone, found out. And so, I mean, it's a DEA investigation, but that's the crazy stuff about this, that if you're not paying attention to that, you're missing it.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's deep, bro.
The lack of education, the lack of understanding. Even with me who used to be a user. So I think honest conversations are super important. Jeff and I talk about this all the time with our kids. We just tell them the journey we went on. Like I'm just super blunt and honest and direct. Here's what I did. Here's what it led to. You're going to be tested at some point for this. I have 9-year-olds. They're my oldest, right? And we've had these conversations. So not that they're immune to it and not that I'm the greatest dad in the world, but I'm at least willing to have blunt, honest, direct conversations with my kids over and over and over again. Because I truly believe even at 9-year-old, if I don't do it, somebody else is going to.
Amen.
Yeah. Yeah. And also too, I believe too, like addiction runs in the DNA. That's just my personal opinion. So, like the more vocal I can be about it and the more they understand, the better it makes me feel.
So tell us some of the stories of you told us about a few people that you've helped. Who are some of the favorite people you help? Maybe some of the highlights and some tough times of just individuals you've helped on the streets through the Fentanyl Project.
Yeah, I'm an empath, dude. I feel everything. And I think that's really hard. I wish I wasn't an empath. I wish I didn't have such emotion and a tie to these people. But that's what it, I mean, that's why we do what we do. So Mama Joe's probably been one of my favorite. Getting her the wheelchair was cool. Um, but we still have her on the streets.
Yeah.
We've gotten, I think we've have 17 people that actually we have taken to rehab, got them through the detox, got them sober, and they're still doing well. So,
Mhm.
and that's just from this project. So I think that's great. We've had 140 saves this year from Narcan, which means it's an immediate, within 24 hours of me giving you the Narcan, you've saved somebody's life. You've come back and reported it. So I'm sure we've had more than that, but we can document 140 saves. So
Wow.
that's pretty amazing. Um, and more than anything, I'm kind of selfish. Is this is helping me? You know what I mean? I know we're doing a lot of good stuff on the streets, but it's keeping me sane. It's keeping me sober. It's keeping me humble.
Mhm.
All those things that we kind of lose in our active addiction. It's the 12 step, man. It's giving back what was given to you. So, yeah,
Yeah, and that's why Drago and I started this, and it's just been a huge benefit to me and my mindset. And I used to bottle all this stuff up like you and not talk about it. And I never
Mm.
talked about the attempted suicide or the cocaine addiction or anything that I went through. And it's been the biggest blessing to open up, to have I think 5 people now say, "Hey, your conversation about suicide and me
Stuff.
reaching out to you saved my life." I've had 5 people tell me, "You saved my life by talking to me about that." And I don't think there's any better thing we can do on this earth than to help our fellow brother and sister, because there's no one better to teach them than the person that used to be them.
Man, amen on that, brother. Love it.
What else? Any final things you want to share?
Yeah, you know what? To make a difference in the world, you don't have to run the Fentanyl Project or be on a podcast. I think that's where people are like, dude, I don't have the platform. I can't do it. I started on my pickup truck. When you guys started this podcast, you probably didn't have any clue what you were doing.
No,
You
No.
just went and got some mics and turned it on and said, let's
no,
talk,
we didn't even
right?
have mics. I think the
Yeah.
first time we interviewed you, we didn't have a
Yeah,
mic.
we'd have mics. Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying? Is like, stop thinking you have to have all this stuff to change the world. Um, Sometimes it's just about getting out of your own way, getting in your vehicle, talking to people, looking up. I do this challenge called the Take 10. Every single day, I want to take 10 minutes of my time to give somebody else. And that's just, I mean, we get selfish, dude. Like if you think about it, there's times where we don't even talk to anybody else. It's just, we're robots. And so the challenge is just look up, dude, put your phone down for a second, go serve somebody, go talk to somebody. You never know. I'll tell you one of my favorite, Chad, and I'll make this quick. I was in a park. There was this Mexican kid, and I call him that, almost white as hell, Caucasian, but I see him and he's fully tatted up from everywhere. And I'm like, God put it on my heart to go talk to him. I'm like, God, this guy is a gang member. I'm not talking to him, right? He's a Mexican mafia. I'm a retired cop. These two guys don't mix. And I rolled up on him in the park and his head was down and he looked up at me and I could tell, dude, he was going through it. And I was like, hey man, is there anything you need? And he's like, can you pray for me? And I'm like, am I being punked right now? I'm thinking like, for real, this guy wants me to pray for him openly in a park. And I'm like, absolutely. I sit down next to him. I offer a prayer real quick. The guy gives me a hug. He walks down the street about a mile and goes out, dies on the rail on our train. And he was septic. I didn't know he was sick. He had relapsed. He was in it about a month. And he was rushed to the hospital and he was saved at the hospital. As him and his wife are leaving the hospital, they drive by my office and they're like, wait a minute, the dude gave me the card. That's his office. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, turn around. We got to go talk to that guy. So he shows up in my office and walks in and I'm looking at him. He's like, you saved my life, dude. I want to do what you're doing. So it's been a year, almost 2 years that he's been sober, hasn't relapsed. And like, I just wonder what happened if I didn't take that opportunity. You know what I mean? Like, would God have sent somebody else? Would your higher power send somebody else? Probably, because that dude needed it, right? But at that time, I listened. And same thing with Derek Montgomery. I pulled my car around 3 times. God had to smack me on the head. And I turned around. Like, I think we can be messengers. I think we can be those advocates. Like you said, Chad, who's a better person than us to go do it? So I think that's my invitation, is slow down enough to listen, because there's a lot of people suffering. There's a lot of people that you can affect if you're just willing to do the footwork.
Fuck yeah, bro. Don't ever change, dog. You're special, and I love you so much because you go with your gut and your intuition, but then at the same time you always respond. I didn't know you. I just connected with you on Instagram. I hit you up and you immediately responded to me and started chatting me up.
Real finds real, brother.
Let's go, bro. Hell
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Oh yeah, dude. We appreciate you coming
it,
on.
dude.
Where,
For
so
sure.
real quick. So obviously you're following on TikTok and Instagram is getting bigger. If let's say somebody it was thinking about in recovery, found your channel, connected with what you're saying, like could they contact you through social media? Could they contact you through the Fentanyl Project? And then do you have
Project AZ?
got it.
DM me.
And then you have the resources, right, to direct them on where they need to go.
Yeah, especially in Arizona. Like, people from Wisconsin call me up and say, "Hey, where do I go?" I don't know. I mean, I'll try to find somebody, hook you up into Wisconsin, but I just don't know Wisconsin. I know Arizona really well. And
Okay.
so, I can help you here. I do have some awesome assets in California. You guys are in Vegas, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, you have some building these communities. But yeah, man, that's what I love to do. I actually am blessed. I run a coaching like you guys do with I want to get him on your podcast. His name is Colin Morrison,
Yep.
Scummy. I don't know if you
Yep.
guys know him. He's my best friend. He would
one
be
of
a
the best
phenomenal dude.
FX. He's like does all the tricks, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. He's one of
Yeah.
the best dudes to have. Just in recovery, killing it. So him and I started a coaching program on the side where we help people. We take recovery to a different level online, right? Where we work like this. And so it's kind of a blessing where we just take one person a month and take them through it. We don't advertise that a ton, if that makes any sense, because there's a lot of people going through it, but we do that kind of stuff if someone really wants it and can't go to recovery. See, that's the hard part, right? I mean, Chad, for you to go to recovery, that's 30 days. How do you leave your home, your family, your job for 30 days? It's just it's an ask that we can't ask everybody to do. So we got to have something else out there. So I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Yeah, hell yeah, bro. Thank you for coming on.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, listen, we'll depart with this. We say it every time. Me and Chad do this because this fills up our cup. We do this because we want to help. We want to get rid of the stigma of addiction. And I'd much rather take a phone call from you at 3 o'clock in the morning than have to go to your funeral, right? So if you're thinking or you're watching and you need some help, you need somebody to talk to you, anybody, we're always available. Me and Chad always put our personal mobiles in the chat line. I'll put the link to the Fentanyl Project as well. If anybody's listening and they want to help out, I'm sure Brock is taking donations, right? For sure. Would love to help raise some money for him. I don't have anything else, man. I
to
appreciate
serve
you.
with your time and with your money. So if you can't be in Mesa, Arizona, serve with your money.
Yeah, for sure.
Brock, I will hit you up. We believe in serving and all we do.
Appreciate you guys, man.
Man, you're just a gift from God, and I'm super grateful to call you a friend and to have you on, and so appreciative of the work you're doing. The world needs more Brocks.
Yeah, dog, never stop, dude.
It. Thank you.
All right, boys.
All right, guys.
Awesome.
Later.
Thanks,
Brock. Dude.
Later, guys.